What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher. Welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest on to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. So it is the second episode of 2025. It is Friday, January 10th. 2025, and today we are doing our 2025, it's a lot of 2025s, astronomical calendar. We're going to see what's going on this year. I threw in some other stuff in there that's not astronomical, but it is astronomical. We'll talk about it in a minute. So threw some stuff in there. So we'll be going over that, checking things out, things to keep an eye out for, and kind of take it from there. If you like what you see here on the What's Up Webcast, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, leave a like on a video, let us know we're doing a good job. You can always send us thoughts or ideas for episodes at info@skywatchusa.com. You can title it What's Up so we know it's about the webcast, but we're always looking for topics and ideas, so head on over there if you need anything. If you want to stay up with what's going on at Skywatcher, what the webcast episode's going to be, and sales, all kinds of fun stuff, you can head over to skywatchusa.com. Up at the top, you can hit subscribe and save. Join our email list, and it just keeps you in the loop with what is going on. What is it? Is the title image some important historical astronomical calendar? I think it's just a graphic that our marketing team found. But sure. So I'm not sure. I didn't build it. Usually we just find some cool graphics that make things look nifty. So hopefully that helps. I'm sorry that wasn't as exciting as that might have been. So anyway, so let's get started. These are just little markers of what's going on this year. I'll give you some of my input on it. If you have any questions on anything today, product, whatever, throw them out there. I figured we've got some time on this episode to answer questions if you've got something going on. So first off, let's talk about Venus and its eastern elongation really quick. Let's see. This is January 10th. So today, this is the best time to be viewing Venus. It's at its highest elongation at 47.2 degrees. Which will be visible high in the western sky. So it's furthest from the sun. So for you to catch it right now on at least this side of its orbit. So now's a good time. It is not currently in this razor thin little crescent phase, however. It's around like a first quarter phase. But if you want to go out and catch Venus, now would be a very good time to go do that or image it. This evening would be the best time to go do it around January 10th. Or try to catch it in the middle of the day and see if you can find it there. Question, do you guys know who bought up Orion and Meade? I have no idea, actually. I am just as surprised as the rest of you. I had some friends who were bidding on some of those Coronado 90s. And everything just stopped. So I honestly have no idea. I know about as much as all of you do. So really quite surprised. Apparently it all went up in a single lot, at least from what I've heard through the grapevine. So, but yeah. Yeah, Eric. So anyone who bid on those items didn't get anything. That's my understanding, is someone came in and bought the whole thing. I have no idea who. I don't even have an idea of where it would be going. So we know as much as you do. So I guess we'll all find out as things move forward. I was looking at some of the prices on the bidding yesterday, though. I'm a big fan of solar. I've got one of my Coronado 90 Edelon. This is an old 90 Edelon. I was messing around with it yesterday. So I don't need one. But the prices that I was seeing on there were, you could go find one on the used market for about that price. But no idea. So we're all on this boat together, I guess. So we'll find out. But yeah, if you were bidding on stuff and you didn't win, I'm sorry. That sucks. But I guess we'll see. If you see a lot of affordable 90s pop up, then we'll figure it out. So let's see. So that's it for Venus. Mars opposition, though, is right around the corner. January 16th is Mars is close approach to Earth this year. Now, if you're new to astronomy and you've just got a telescope for the holidays and you're trying to kind of get out and do everything, Mars is a kind of a tricky planet. Usually every year we're able to see the planets. Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. They're all visible at some point in the year. Right now, a lot of that is generally in the end of the year. Wintertime is just from orbital periods is where we're at the moment, or if you're in southern hemisphere, summer. But Mars, because of its orbit, we only catch every other year. So this year, 2025, happens to be a Mars year. I have not had a chance to get out and view it at all. I'm hoping to do that tomorrow night, actually. Get out one of the big refractors and take a look at it, because Mars to me is always really interesting. I like to see what kind of detail is out there. So it's up right now. It's easy to see, probably about 9 o'clock in the eastern sky, rising right around where Gemini is. It's bright and kind of a rusty orange color. It's hard to miss it, but it should be interesting. But its closest approach is the 16th, is when it's at opposition. That's when it will be at its largest for us to see it this time around. 59 million miles away at opposition, so 0.64 AU, or astronomical units if you're new to this. Its size right now is 14.5 arc seconds at opposition. So it's not a great close approach, although it's not bad, but it's not great. An example, here's the other two close approach years. 2020, which was the best it's been in a long time, was 22.6 arc seconds. And 2022, 17.2 arc seconds. So it is a bit smaller this time around, but nonetheless, Mars is up. I've seen some really cool pictures from friends who do planetary imaging. So I'll have to get out. The picture you see here is my best attempt at shooting Mars. I think this was with a C-14 a few years ago. I am not a good planetary imager. My friend Chris Go, who we've had on, is a master at planetary imaging. I'm not. So this is my best attempt. So planets are hard when you're imaging it. So it's really all about the seeing conditions. So hold on, there's some questions in here. Did I miss them? I noticed that the accuracy of my AVX is off in colder months. Should I insulate? I don't know. It's been a long time since I've played with an AVX. I would call Celestron tech support and maybe ask their techs about that. When it's cold outside, the metals and mounts, or anything for that matter, tend to constrict. So I don't know how far off your mount is. I've never heard of that happening on an AVX, but I don't work with AVXs at all. I'm not sure. If it's noticeably off, then that's interesting. I would ask Celestron, though. They've got a really nice team of people over there that should be able to help you out. So hopefully they can shed some light on the subject, but I'm not sure. So back to Mars really quick. Sorry I couldn't give you more information on it. I'm just not sure on that. If you're looking to go out and observe Mars, I'm not big on planetary filters like color filters. I just don't like that they change the whole field of color. And I get it that there's a reason you'd have blue, or there's a reason you have your red or yellow. They don't do it for me. It just bugs me. I like seeing all the colors of a planet at once. So Oh, wrong button. There we go. Come on, computer. There we go. Here are some imaging examples of filters that I like to use and that are in my kit for planetary viewing. You can see on the left there's no filter. The middle one is a Botter neodymium or moon and sky glow filter, and then the right is the contrast booster from Botter. The moon and sky glow, aka the neodymium, and the contrast booster are my planetary filters of choice. I learned from some very good planetary observers. These are the filters that they recommended, and this is how they work. So I like using those filters because you still get the majority of the planet color, but it also pops the details out. But I like using those two filters rather than having a range of these color planetary filters. So hopefully this little comparison right here shows all of that. Let's see. Sorry, there's some questions in here. Let me see. Have you seen the MagView magnetic phone holders for spotting scopes? Just heard about it 2 weeks ago, and apparently it's been around for a few years. The MagView. Hold on. MagView phone holders. I have not heard of these. Sorry, I'm watching the little video of everything. So, oh, interesting. Well, I won't keep this from you guys. I've never heard of MagView. I'm not a big birder spotting scope person, but apparently it uses the magnetic setup on a phone charger. It's kind of a neat idea. There might be a way to adapt it to a telescope. If you've got a 3D printer, you can adapt all kinds of crap to whatever you want if you have the drive to do it. I'm sure it might adapt to something. I'd have to look into it more, though. Sorry, but I've never heard of them. But it looks really neat, so thanks for bringing that to my attention. Don't know. Let's see what's going on. Good morning, Kevin. Hello. Is doublet with FCD 100 and lanthanum a good combination for color correction? I haven't used a lot of these new lanthanum-based objectives, but I've heard really good things about it. FCD 100 is fantastic glass. Everyone for decades has been hooked on O'Hara's FPL 53 glass, and for whatever it's O'Hara. Sorry, I'm breaking up. Apparently, it's too loud. There we go. Hopefully that helps. O'Hara FPL 53 glass has been like the default standard. Very high correction of color when used in a refractor objective, but it's getting a little old, and it's hard to get large pieces of it, like bigger than 6-inch, which is why you haven't really seen too many big affordable APO refractors over the years, or big APO refractors at all, because it's really hard to find an ED glass that's big enough to produce a lens bigger than 6-inch. FCD 100 and my understanding of FPL 55 as well is much easier to get a hold of in larger pieces. But FCD 100 and lanthanum seems to be a very popular combo, especially those coming out of like the Kunming factories, which a lot of these branded companies are getting them from. But FCD 100 is very nice glass. It's right up there with FPL 53. So if you're hooked on FPL 53 and you're like, I'm not buying a telescope unless there's FPL 50, you need to drop it. Like, just let it go. Technology is moving forward. FPL 53 is remaining in the past. There's new glass coming out, FCD 100 being one of those. I wouldn't be surprised in the future if you see more and more companies moving to FCD 100 as a top level glass. Now, there are different levels of ED glass that you can get to be more budget friendly, but the color correction isn't as good. But in order for you to get good color correction, you have to match ED glass to mating elements, and that ultimately gives you what you want. Can you drop the filter on the eyepiece cup instead of screwing them on the diagonal or eyepiece? Maybe. I've always threaded it on to the eyepiece. Some people have filter wheels, the little manual filter wheel they put them in if they're really like hardcore about it and don't want to switch it. I've seen people use like filter wheels and stuff like that. So your mileage may vary. I don't know that putting it on the eyepiece would be the best, most secure way to do it. I would put it on the bottom barrel of the eyepiece. In terms of visual, does high F ratio mean higher contrast or better color correction? There's a lot of variables in it. If your F ratio is too long, you can actually get a breakdown of light. Diffraction is what that is. It happens in camera lenses. Actually, there's a guy on YouTube. His name is Christopher Frost. He does the best lens reviews of anybody that I'm aware of. He puts them on like benches and tests them up against all kinds of charts and stuff. And you can see how refraction breaks down an image after a while, especially as the F ratio continues. But it just depends. Every optic is going to be a little bit different. So usually contrast is better when there's nothing to scatter the light. So that's why a lot of people tend to move towards refractors for visual planetary. It has better contrast because there's less scatter. A lot of these planetary reflectors have very small secondary mirrors to give you more of that refractor-like high contrast capability. So it's F ratio can be a part of that. It can definitely help with color correction in terms of like achromats. The longer it is, usually the better correction because it's not so severe of a curve on the lens. But contrast has a lot of other things that dictate that. So no obstruction, small obstruction. There's a lot of balance in there. So I'm glad you're liking the 180 Mac. It's a nice little scope, actually. Heavy, but it's nice. This is what I was talking about. Not everything's going to be completely astronomical. 2025, in comparison to the last couple of years, there's no big solar eclipses, at least. Our webcast is focused around the North American region because that's where we're based. So I'm sorry I don't cover the entire world. It's a lot to cover the entire world. So Winter Star Party. Never been, heard amazing things about it. It's on the list to go. We have friends who are going, and it's like it's literally 2 weeks from today, I believe, is when it starts. January 27th to February 2nd. It's in the Florida Keys, which is in Florida, if you haven't figured that one out. Bortle 3 skies. The biggest thing, though, that my understanding is, it's very far south for the continental U.S., so you're able to get way down into the southern sky. And the seeing there is generally really good. So if you're heading out there, if you're doing planets, go for it. It is decently dark out there from my understanding. There's a wide spread of gear out there. Usually pretty high-end stuff tends to show up out there. But it looks like an awesome star party. I do want to go one day. It just lands in a really weird part of the year for us, so we don't really get a chance to get out and down there yet. We do have some friends there that are going to be there, so you'll probably see some Skywatcher stuff down there if you're there. But yeah, Winter Star Party is right around the corner. If you're going, you're probably already aware and you're registered and you're doing your whole thing. But that one's literally 2 weeks away, so give it a go. Next one, Mercury's eastern elongation. So Mercury, little tiny ball. March 8th is the best time to view Mercury. Right now in the evening sky. Yeah. It'll be about 18.2 degrees away from the sun. So if you're trying to get a view of Mercury, this would be the time to do it. It will be visible in the western sky. So yeah, in the evening of March 8th would be the best time to catch it. The best time to actually catch Mercury or Venus is during the day. when they're really high up in the sky, but it's a bit of a challenge to do it. So, yeah, so it could be difficult to see it. Mercury is quite difficult to catch at times. I find the best way to do it is to go out in your yard the night before, get your mount really well aligned, and then put it to sleep. And then the next morning, wake up, flip it on, and go try to catch Mercury at that point. So, yeah, so give that a go. Venus is a lot easier. If you know exactly where Venus is, you can actually see it naked eye during the day. I've done events where we've actually shown Venus during the day, but it just requires careful alignment and being able to spot it. Sometimes the moon is not too far away from it, which makes it even easier to spot it. So, did anyone have a chance to try the SkyMax 180 versus the C.925 on planets? I have not compared the two. I don't have many friends who have the 9 1/4. I've owned a 9 1/4. It's a great scope. It's just a lot of people tend to either stick with the smaller 8-inch, or if they're gonna spend the money and they're gonna deal with the weight, they'll get the 11-inch. Although there is quite a cult following of 9 1/4 owners. It's a very sharp instrument. My guess is the 9 1/4, just from straight physics, is going to give you more detail because of the resolving capabilities of that larger mirror. So there's going to be a big advantage towards the 9 1/4 as long as collimation is good and it's temperature acclimated. That goes for both telescopes, though. But the 9 1/4 is going to give you more resolving capability because of the larger mirror. So I would not be surprised if a 9 1/4 outperformed 180 just because of aperture. So, but your mileage may vary. We need a bigger Mac. That's what we need. We need a larger Mac. They get heavy. Total lunar eclipse. So this will be fun because we do have a total lunar eclipse on March 14th here in North America. It gets the whole thing. And I literally had this up and I closed the window. So hooray. 25 lunar eclipse. I was going to show all of, oh, this is even better. Time and date. So timeanddate.com is a really good one to go. But here is where the map is. So everything in this region that's in the red portion will get the entire eclipse. And then these other regions, you'll see it either during moon rise or moon set. But if you go to timeanddate.com, you can put in your location. They have an interactive map. Yeah, there you go. See, if you go to this map right here, you can click on wherever you're going to be, and it'll show you what your illumination and all that's going to be. But if you're here in the States, Canada, Eastern South America, Mexico, all that, those regions, then this would be the place to go out and take a look at it. So let's see. Okay, so it goes on through most of the night. It's going to be a long night. Trying to figure out when I'm going to get out there and actually look at it all. I did not look at this before we got on, so I am processing it. So maximum is at midnight. Okay, so I'll be up in the middle of the night, basically, is what that means. So anyway, so yeah, lunar eclipse coming up. That's fun. It's a total, which means it should be a good one, especially if you're doing like a time lapse and stuff like that. It's going to be visible in all the regions that we just talked about. So I'm sure social media will be packed full of blood moon pictures. It's cool to see a lunar eclipse. It really is. So especially a total if the weather's looking good. But yeah, so lunar eclipse coming up on March 14th. So jot your calendar down for that one. It should be kind of a good one. NEAF and NEAIC is coming around. If you're in anywhere, actually, if you want to come and see it, this is the largest astronomical expo for equipment here in North America. This is where a lot of the industry goes to show off gear and stuff. Now, normally NEAIC, the Northeast Advanced Imaging Conference, is before it, but this year it's actually after NEAF, which is going to be different. So NEAF is April 5th and 6th. I'm sure many of you that go to NEAF every year are already well aware of this. I think you can even get tickets right now. It's coming up really, really quickly. It's very early in April this year, which is fine. But it's going to be here before we even know it. We're already putting lists together of what we're going to show. I am telling you right now, if you're coming to NEAF, there's a good chance Skywatcher's going to have a very interesting spread of new stuff. Stuff that we have already told you about, stuff that you don't know about. And depending how some things shake out, it could be a very interesting year for Skywatcher and what we have to show you guys. So a lot of moving parts are happening right now. But yeah, NEAF is April 5th and 6th. That is Saturday and Sunday. And then Monday, Tuesday following NEAF is NEAIC, which is 7th and 8th. So you can go get tickets right now and go from there. And it's always in Suffern, New York. So you might need to check around for hotels and stuff like that. Wide range of gear from any brand you can possibly think of is normally there. There's really good deals on stuff. I really like getting my Teleview eyepieces there because they have sales. New equipment is displayed. It's a really good time for you to see the new stuff firsthand rather than wait for it to go on social media and all the fun websites out there. But you get to see and talk to everyone. Speakers, it's always good for that. It's just a fun time, and you get to meet people, and you get to meet the community, which is why we like going, is we get to see a lot of our friends there. It's fun to talk to everyone and show off our new stuff, but it's a really good social gathering of just the community in general. We get to see our vendor friends that we don't get to see that often. We have a lot of customer friends who stop by and say hi every year too. It's just a nice time to see everyone and just be a part of the community, which is a good time for all of that. So those are the dates. I believe tickets are already available. Just Google them and you'll be able to find it. But yeah, so will Skywatcher fill in the niche and create a C7.25? At some point, you're just kind of pulling hairs or splitting hairs at that point. It's kind of like refractors where it's like we have a 60, we have a 70, we have an 80, we have a 100, we have a 120, we have a 110, we have a 150, a 160. At some point, there's not a big need to fill in a gap right there. It can be hard making equipment because there's something you could see a need for, but it has to be, for us, it has to be big enough to be the investment to do it. So probably won't see a C7.25 anytime soon. There's not really a need for it, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but Texas Star Party is this year too. I don't believe we will be there. It's very, very close to NEAF this year. And logistically, it gets very difficult shipping our team across country and even more shipping equipment in order for it to be visible where it needs to be. But if you are going, Texas Star Party is April 20th through the 27th in Fort Davis, Texas. It is a worthwhile event to go to. We've gone many, many years. I'm sure we'll go again. It's just last year was the eclipse. This year, there's a lot going on too. Bortle 2 skies. It is fairly dark out there. Wide range of equipment. There are 3 different observing fields out there. And it's very, very close to McDonald Observatory. I think it's like a 15-20 minute drive from McDonald Observatory, which is a very impressive facility to go to. Sometimes they even set up like in-depth tours, which if you can get on one, well worth it. But yeah, McDonald Observatory is looking pretty good. Is my audio that bad, guys? I reset everything before we started. So I don't know if there's like a bandwidth thing going on or what, but I'm not seeing anything on my end that the audio is looking weird, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. But I've seen two different people say the audio keeps cutting out. So I think there's some buffering going on. But I'm not sure. So if it is, I'm sorry. I think it's buffering on YouTube is what I'm looking at right now. So we put a lot of time and effort to make sure the system runs. And the bandwidth of this computer for the internet is like 1 gig. So we made sure everything was as good as it could be. So if it is, I'm sorry. Anyway, moving on. Mercury Western elongation is April 27th. So this would be best time to catch it in the morning. Will be April 27th. This one would probably be the best time to catch it all year because it's 27.4 degrees away from the sun. And it'll be leading the sun at this point. So if you want to get Mercury, if you just want to jot it off the collection of planets, April, end of April would be the best time to actually catch it because it's the furthest away from the sun. I don't have a good picture of Mercury other than the Mercury transit from a few years ago. So there you go. Just look for a little dot. It'll be visible in the eastern sky just before sunrise, so make sure to get out there, check it out. But yeah, Mercury's a fun one too. It does have phases like Venus and the moon do, so it's a really cool planet to get out there, but it is tiny. So make sure your mount is really well aligned and you are prepared. Just be very careful trying to catch it because especially during the day when the sun is up, just please be aware of where your optics are in compared to where the sun is actually at. All right, my favorite event, Grand Canyon Star Party, June 21st through the 28th. This is at Grand Canyon, both South and North Rim. I'm always on the South Rim. It's just more room, and I've always been there, and all my friends are over there. But there's a very small group that heads over to the North Rim, but it's very limited space. Bortle 2 skies, it's dark. That's all you need to know is it's dark. Another thing you need to know is it's an outreach event. This is not this is not your average star party where you're going to go set up your imaging stuff and talk shop with your buddies in the middle of the night. This is an outreach event. You're there for the public. And if that's your thing, this is the ultimate one to go to because the skies are amazing. The people are great. It's very well organized. And you're at the Grand Canyon, so highly recommend it. Very dark skies, very good transparency because the altitude is so high. You're about 7,000 feet on the South Rim, 8,000 feet on the North Rim. Highly recommend it. Although you want to make sure you hop on this event very quickly because it is happening at one of the busiest times of year for the park, and hotels can get difficult to get. So if you want to do it, definitely jump on it as soon as possible. Let's see. Starfest. I'm assuming we're going to Starfest again this year. I don't know if we're going to Starfest this year, but I would be pretty certain that we are. But this is one of my favorite events now having gone. I have raved about it since leaving it. August 21st through the 24th, 2025. This is up in Ontario, Canada. Not too far from Toronto. So if you have to fly in, you fly into Toronto and drive out there. Not a difficult one to get to. It is a fantastic event, though. It is one of the most well-organized and well-executed astronomy events I have ever been to. It's especially considered how many people go to this thing. There's so much stuff here. The amount of people this thing brings in is crazy. And I like it because it appears to be open to the public too. There are people waiting in line to look through telescopes. It was a fun event. It's probably my top choice of event. So, but this is a good one as well. Yes, there are other national park events. Bryce Canyon does one as well. A lot of the national parks do. So check out all the national park events. You also want to support the national parks, so go check it out. But there's other stuff. Astrocons at Bryce Canyon. We did talk about that in a meeting. But yeah, there's a lot of. I'm sorry. There's a lot of events that I didn't put on this. I just put in the ones that I am off the top of my head aware of. But Ontario up in Starfest, fantastic event, well organized, good sky. The skies are not the darkest that I've seen, but considering how close you are to Toronto and how many people come to this thing, it's is well good enough. And it lands right around when the Perseids are, so it's a really good place to watch the Perseids. And above all, we have a lot of friends up there that we get to see. And again, that's really what it's about, is just being social in the community and meeting people. And we got to meet some really good people last year. And we got to see a lot of our friends that are up in Canada being in their local spot as well. So I'm assuming we're going again. It's a little far out to make any decisions at the moment. So, and then great speakers as well. Did you get a chance to learn about Canadian beer versus American beer? I did not. Sorry, I did not. So, not a big drinker. I don't have any money, as you've probably figured out, because all my money goes to telescope equipment. So, and bills. So, and I have a family. So, what are you talking about? I've got kids. I don't got money for that. So, but no, I didn't have a chance to really get into the Canadian versus American beer discussion. So, yeah. So, this year maybe. Okie-Tex, another one I have not been to. Everyone tells me I have to go to it. I just haven't been able to get out to there. This is a picture from our friend Will Young. Sorry, Will, I took your picture, but I figured you'd be okay with it. We've had Will on before. If you haven't checked out Will's music under Deep Sky Dude, he's the music is awesome. It's very atmospheric. It's astronomy inspired. He does very good work. Go check it out. September 19th to the 27th. This is Camp Billy Joe in Oklahoma. This place is freaking dark. Like, this is probably one of, if not the darkest star parties on the U.S. Bortle 1 skies, very well attended. Some of the years can get a little dicey with the weather. That's why they've called past ones Okie-Tex, because of rain. So be prepared. Extremely dark skies, great transparency. I've heard this is like the event to go to, though. And I hope we get out there. It's just very, very remote. And we're also on a budget. We have to pick and choose what we want to go to, which gets hard when you're on a limited team, and there's a lot of other things that we have to balance out through the year. Going to star parties and events, that's the fun part of the job. The not fun part of the job is dealing with problems and why this isn't doing this and why this isn't doing that and blah, 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 blah. But when we get to hang out with everybody and be a part of the community, that's the fun stuff. It just doesn't happen as much as I'd like. So, yeah, Almost Heaven Star Party. There's a bunch of other stuff out there. Again, there's a lot of events I just didn't have time or the knowledge to put in here. I'm just kind of hitting the big check marks. So if I missed one, I'm sorry. But again, there's a lot of good things to do out there. Going to star parties, even if it's a local star party, maybe you're new, maybe you just got your first telescope for the holidays, find your local club. See what they're doing. Get involved in your local community. That's my favorite part of astronomy, is you can be social with people with like-minded interests. And don't just be stuck in your backyard out by yourself, because there's probably other people that are really into it, and it's fun as a group. So go out there. Can you show up on a star party without a telescope and just enjoy the atmosphere? It depends. Some of the larger events like Texas Star, actually, so most of the major star parties, you need a ticket. and that ticket's going to cost you some money, probably a couple $100 depending on what it is. Because a lot of these places, like Texas Star Party, for example, takes place on a ranch. It's private property. They have to rent out the ranch in order for them to have the event there. That costs money. There's food, there's logistics, there's a lot of things. So every event's going to be a little bit different. It just depends on the event. So I would say if you just want to go and enjoy the atmosphere, do some research about the event you're thinking about going. A lot of public star parties, which are a great way to get started. Usually you can search for your local club. Usually they have a public star party that probably doesn't cost much. If it does cost anything, you're probably just paying for entry into the park that it's being hosted at. That's how my public events are. It's just kind of come out and hang out. Other star parties like Grand Canyon Star Party is a fantastic thing for you to go to. The star party is free, but you have to pay to get into the Grand Canyon National Park, which I think is like $35 a car. It's not terrible, and the money goes to a really good place. So it just depends on the event. If you're thinking about going to a star party, please make sure you're doing your research about it. If you are going to a dark sky star party, please make sure you know what the dark sky etiquette is. We have a whole video on preparing for a star party, but there is etiquette. Don't go out blasting a white light. Don't go out with your big headlamp, even though it's red. You're going to blind people because it's red still. Just be aware, be cognizant of other people. If you're cool and you understand the rules, there are plenty of people there that are going to be more than welcoming and let you enjoy the view through their equipment. Just be respectful of the environment around you, and not, blasting off tons of white light and stuff like that. But other star parties are way more relaxed. So, let's see. Totem patches. We'll look into that. We're about to dig through all the totems anyway to evaluate the winners. So I will double check for your thing, and we'll get that cleared up. So, all right, Saturn at opposition. This is September 21st, so later in the year. I'm just trying to get through today. Closest approach to Earth, 793 million miles, or 8.54 AU. So size is going to be about 19.4 arc seconds, so decent size. I think the rings will still be pretty close to edge on. They should be opening up again by then, but it's still going to be pretty well at the edge there. They won't be opened up too much. But yeah, so Saturn will be at its closest approach this year on the 21st. So that's something else to check out. Oh, I did mean to bring up these. Where's the tab hiding? Occultations. This is where a celestial body is covered up by another celestial body. Now, you can go right here, lunar-occultations.com. They have a list of all the occultations that are going to be happening. The only major one that's happening for at least us here in majority of North America is Mars on January 14th, which is a few days from now. There's the occultation right there. So the moon will cover up Mars at that one. So that should be kind of cool. If you're around the world, there's some other cool stuff. Saturn, East Asia is going to get that. Mars on the 9th of February, Northern Europe and Northern Asia. Our friends in Canada, Greenland, Europe, Venus. So check that out. So there's some cool things that are actually coming up right now too, and you can check that out. And this comet right here, C2024 G3 Atlas, apparently is putting on a close approach right now. Over the next week, it should be worth getting out, trying to check it out. I don't think it's going to get too high, but it is magnitude 3.8. So technically, it is within binocular capability. But you're going to have to catch it with the sun getting close. And it's going to be very, very low. So you want to be somewhere high up and good luck. I will try and see what I can get out of it, but I'm not expecting much. But I've seen some pictures of it, so try to get out and catch that comet. It's going to be very, very, like a 1 week window is all you've got. So give it a go there. But yeah, so that's, if you have any other questions, now's the time to do it, because that pretty much wraps up this week. If you like what you see here, please go ahead and subscribe, leave a like on the video. If you have an idea for a future episode, you can email us at info@skywatchusa.com and title it What's Up. But that is it for the 2025 astronomical calendar for this year. Our new thumbnails for YouTube, I was told I needed to be in them and do what all the other YouTubers are. So here you go. I hate these freaking things. Thanks, Jeff and Jared, for having me do this. But all of our thumbnails will have me in it. I hate being the center of attention. But apparently this is what YouTube people do. It was not my choice. Anyway, next week we're showing you our new mount. This is our ALEQ55I mount. I understand some of you probably already know about it, especially our friends in Europe. We have it here now. So it's coming. Actually, I think they're getting pretty close to release. But we're going to go over this mount next week. I've been testing it for a little while. It's actually pretty nice for what it is. It's very budget friendly too. So it'll be a nice little mount in the lineup. If you're looking for a very sub $1,000 affordable go-to mount that's got some payload to it, you know, more than a Star Adventure, but doesn't cost as much as a Strain Wave, we're going to go into this mount next week. It's got some really nice features like its bigger brothers do. And it actually has tested pretty well. So we'll be talking about that next week. So stay tuned for that. Check it out and we'll be going in there. So that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you all for watching. Oh yeah, Stellarphane, July 24th to the 27th. If you're going to be up in the Vermont area, have never been to Stellarphane, heard a bunch of good things about it. Just am never really in that neck of the woods, but it would be cool to go because it's a very historic event too. So we'll go out and check that. There was one more question. What's a good binocular for astronomy? 7x50s. 50 millimeter is big enough for you to catch enough light. 7 magnification is wide enough to where it's easy to hand hold and you're not shaking too much. More magnification, like when you get to 10, 12, 15x, that's a lot to hand hold. But yeah, but for events, I have a little box of like 4 or 5 7x50s that I lay on a table and let people play with. 7x50 is a very nice size. They're nice and bright. They're not heavy. But yeah, you could go to Celestron. They've got a lot of good binoculars for astronomy. You can go really high end and go into like Nikon and Canon and Zeiss and Swarovski, which are probably the best. But yeah, actually, I'm sorry, the best are the Canon, 10x42, 12x42 image stabilized Ls. Whew, those are awesome. But they cost some money. So, but yeah, 8x42, someone else mentioned, are very, very nice. I have a pair of those laying around. Those are a very nice size. They're a good pair of binoculars is something everybody should have. I am not a big binocular observer, but a nice pair of binoculars everybody should have laying around. They're worth the investment. You can take them out on a hike. You can go to a star party with them. You can do a whole lot of stuff with a good pair of binoculars. So investing in a nice pair isn't a bad thing at all. But yeah, some around 7x50, 8x42. Try to find something between 40 and 50 millimeter in aperture. Magnification wise, between 7 and 10 would be my recommendation. You can go bigger if you really want to. You can go smaller if you really want to, but those work. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for today. We are going to be going through totem targets and entries here very soon, so we'll have those up and announcing all that at the What's Up for the month on February is when we'll announce the winners for that. We'll try to get through all the patches if you haven't gotten them yet. We'll try to make sure we get yours shipped out. If we miss it, we have inventory of them. We will get the patches for you. If it just takes a little bit, especially with the holidays, it slows a bunch of stuff down. So let's see. How can we estimate seeing conditions for the night? Don't want to put all the equipment out. So when I'm checking for seeing conditions, I use an app called Atmospheric. It's like, I forgot the name of it. It has these little blocks and it shows you clarity and transparency and seeing. I usually check that out first if I don't want to go out and set something up. But yeah, Atmospheric is a really fun one. So yeah, I would try that one. Yes, thanks for everyone. Go ahead and subscribe, leave a like on a video. If you have any other stuff, let us know. We're always here to help you guys out. Lots of cool stuff coming this year. We will definitely share it with you once we're ready to go. So, all right, everyone, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the good questions, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Dress warm. Yes, one quick thing I would like to mention. The fires in LA, our offices are based in what we call south of LA, and Torrance, California is where Skywatcher USA is currently based. Our offices are fine. Our friends at Celestron are fine. Although we do have a lot of friends that are affected by it. It is about 10-15 miles north of where we're based, is where those fires are at. It's not good out there. I used to commute through some of those regions when I did live in LA. Not good. But our whole team is okay, but there are people that are affected on that, and hopefully everything's good. Other than that, please have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. Dress warm. It's cold. And go out and look at the planets. We'll see you guys next Friday talking about our new mount. Thanks. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.